Hello and welcome to the long-awaited financial breakdown. In honor of today's video, I'm wearing my University of Leeds shirt. I've been saying for a long time before I even went on exchange that I'm going to do a financial breakdown. So this is going to tell you what I spent, how much, on what, and all the things that I did. Just a little explanation before. So I left New Zealand, I did a little bit of pre-travel. I did 2 cities, which I'll get into, before I got to Leeds. So I will be including from the pre-travel and then obviously the full semester, but I'm not going to include the last month of travel that I did around Europe, just because it's not going to be that informative, because it's going to be very inaccurate to what one person would have spent, because I was splitting it with my family and with my boyfriend. And also just for their privacy, I don't want to say how much they spent because they may not want that on the internet. So I'm not going to include the last month of travel, but I'll still include my flights home and everything like that. Also, I just want to say before I get into the video, many people will ask me, how did you afford this? Where did you get the money for this? I worked a lot for a long time. I worked probably, like, I've always been saving since I started working at 16, but I started probably saving like more than a year in advance. Majority saving, a little bit parents loan and student loan. So it is achievable, you've got to be resourceful, but yeah, you need to save a lot. Majority of it was savings, and I didn't have a job over there, so I was living fully off of savings. Definitely doable if you are like disciplined enough. So let's get into it. I have my iPad here and it has my spreadsheet that I have with everything on it. Go through the pre-travel part. When I left New Zealand, I stopped in Seoul, South Korea for 2 days before going to London, which I did London for like I think 3 or 4 days. So yeah, so the transcript, it was $30. My flight to Seoul was $785. My flight from Seoul to London was $796. Insurance was, so the university requires that you get insurance, was $435. This is all in Z. I'll tell you all in New Zealand dollars, but at the end I'll put the total in euro and pounds for you. My Seoul accommodation was $382. My London accommodation was $682. London accom is so expensive, and I was there for like the same amount of time, and it was like not a hotel and not nice. It was like shared bathroom, but it was still so expensive. Spent in Korea, I spent 326, and in London I spent 585. The accommodation deposit was $460. Total for pre-travel money was $4,155. It was a very big expense. The flights, of course, is gonna be a lot of money. Once I arrived in Leeds, I've done this as like a separate thing of like Leeds setup cost, because I had to buy all of like my bedding and like bedroom stuff plus all my kitchen stuff. Total $314. Kitchen stuff was $136. My first week of groceries was $162. Obviously this was the biggest, most expensive grocery shop because I had to buy lots of things that I didn't need to repurchase, like sauces and salt and stuff like that. Oh, I also had to buy like all my body wash, hair, shampoo, all that. There's just some miscellaneous category because I had to take Ubers from places because I had so much stuff with me. So that total of miscellaneous was $47. Also, I included in the Leeds setup costs is because I moved in a week earlier than the accommodation contract, but National Exchange Week was a week before the move-in, which is why I applied for early accom. But it was nice to like be in Leeds and like get settled in before. But summer rent or move-in early rent was $297. Setup cost in total was $958. Okay, so moving on. I was over there for 5 months, but 4 months was only like exchange. So I'm just gonna tell you, like, for the 4 months, how much I spent in food was $656, which is actually really not that bad. Like, it out to be like approximately like 120, 50 a month, which was pretty good, but I was quite like purposefully efficient with food. Like I'm a small person, I don't eat that much, but I really tried to like be less spending on groceries because I wanted to spend more on my trips and stuff. But yeah, you can definitely do it quite cheap. Like the groceries in UK are quite cheap comparatively, but eating out is really expensive. Accommodation, this hurts my soul to say how much this was, but this is like the accommodation for the full semester, not including that summer rent that I just mentioned. But my accommodation was 7,343. Like a rough idea on each month, like going out or shopping or like fun activities, whatever, I spent approximately like $100, so like $400 on like activities and stuff like that. But going out, like I went to the bars and stuff in Leeds. So flight home, which I purchased when I was still in Leeds, was 1,974. There's still more, but wait, there's still more. So that was just the semester part. Now I'm gonna get into the Euro travel. So I did 5 trips during the semester. I'm only gonna like break down one, just so you can see like how much roughly they. So my flight to Spain was $129, so £60. The accommodation for 4 nights was $205. I spent like just fun money, spending money, $301, and was $57. My total for Spain was $694. My cheapest trip was Poland, which I spent $360, and the most expensive was Morocco, which was $886. But the reason there's such a range is not all of them were the same amount of time. Like some were like 4 or 5 days, and then some were like 2. Morocco is actually really cheap, but we were there for a long time, and I did a lot more shopping over there because Morocco is the only place that isn't in Europe. Morocco's in North Africa, so it's a different currency, which is favors New Zealand dollar, thank God. Each trip costs like 500, let's say, which is like still a lot of money, but it's so cheap compared to if you went from New Zealand there just for that one place. Like if you went from New Zealand to Edinburgh, it's gonna cost you like 5 grand, but it's gonna, if you're, you know, living here there, it would cost you 500. So my total for traveling Europe on the 5 trips that I did during the semester was 2,929, which I think was pretty low compared to how much I know other people spent. The semester was around, I think, 11 weeks long, so it was like every other week pretty much that I went on a trip, and they were just during the weekend, so it didn't really interfere too much with going to class. So I'm sure you're wondering the grand total from when I left New Zealand to when I left Leeds was 16,328. This is it, New Zealand pounds, euros. It was a lot. It was really like expensive, but at the same time, I know that sounds like a really big number, but when you break down all the costs, it's like understandable how you get to that total. And I know that so many people spent so much more than me. I'm sure there's people who do it even cheaper than me, but this, obviously I am making this video for information purposes only because most people don't want to talk about how much they spent, but I feel like I wish I saw a video like this before that told me like, this is how much you're gonna spend on food, this is how much on accommodation. Like obviously it depends where you go, it's not gonna be exactly the same as me if you go on exchange, but you know, to get an idea with like actual amounts is really helpful. I hope this video was helpful and informative, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, write it in the comments or direct message me or whatever. I want to help, like any questions, ask me. I want more people to know about exchange and more people to consider it. I will see you in the next one.